Hello. So I've done 8 videos now, all savory. So today I'm gonna make a ice cream. Um, Although I've made ice cream many times before, I'm experimenting with the flavor today. Now I know I've told you never deviate from a recipe in pastry. I'm doing exactly that. So I'm gonna be playing a little bit around with the product, and we'll see what happens. So here's my product I need. I've got my ice cream churner from Rachel Allen. Rachel Allen, my chef wife. I've got some double cream. Got some milk. I've got some raspberry jam. Some vanilla essence. Caster sugar. I've got some white chocolate. I've spooned out little bits of peanut butter, which I'm going to stick in the freezer now, and chuck in hard bits while the ice cream's churning, kind of like a cookie dough type of idea. And I've got some eggs. I'll be using the yolks. The whites I'll be using for something else, so either meringues or might make egg white omelets if you want to be healthy. So let me get started. Okay, so to make this recipe I need 250 grams of milk, so just tear that, take it to 0. And this is where you want to be precise. You don't want to make any mistakes here. So essentially what we're making a sauce anglaise, which is, in layman's terms, it's a English custard, a basic custard, which we're then going to freeze later. So that's 250 grams. I'm going to add a bit of vanilla to it. Now normally I'd use vanilla pods, very expensive, don't have any. So just a little bit of vanilla essence in there. That's just about 5 grams. Now this is background flavor, so it doesn't matter too much. So I'm just going to set that one side. So in my bowl now for sugar, that will be equal quantities of milk and cream. So, but the cream will add once you've made the custard already. So sugar, I need 130 grams. So I'm using caster sugar. There we go, 130 grams. And now I need to separate my eggs. Remember, you never separate your eggs or crack your eggs until just before you need it. So they say it's big eggs, but it's fairly standard size, so I'm not too phased about that. So I'm going to keep the egg whites straight into my jug. If a little bit of egg white gets into the custard, it's not the end of the world. If a little bit of yolk gets into the egg whites, it is. You won't be able to use it for meringue. You can still use it for some other stuff, but you won't be able to use it for meringue. So just bear that in mind. So there you see I've got a bit of egg yolk into there, so that's obviously not going to go to meringues. Not the best way to crack an egg on a jug, but anyway, that is what it is. It's quite an expensive recipe, so with the level 2s you'll remember from your theory, the why do you buy convenience ice cream, this is particularly why. So potentially these whites could have been wasted, or potentially you can make mistakes in the recipe, you can overcook the custard, curdle it, get different standards to it, etc. There we go, last egg. And there we go, and next phase. Okay, so I'm going to bring my milk up to the boil. And while that's boiling, I'm going to whisk my eggs and sugar together. I want to whisk it until it's nice and light and it's not grainy anymore. If your bowl does have a flat base, And just make sure that you get to those edges as well. The better you whisk this now, the lighter your product will be. As you can see, that's really lightening up now. So while the milk is boiling, every once in a while, give it a wee swirl. So it's like with heating up in a microwave, the center heats up slower than the outside. So the outside burns and the center is still cold, so you want to make sure it's evenly mixed. So if you look at there now, it's a nice light color. It's nice and smooth, there's no graininess from the sugar at all. Okay, so this milk's coming up to the boil now. You can see it's just starting to bubble. So give it another swirl. Make sure it is 100%. Give your eggs and sugar a little mix again. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making my custard, then adding my ingredients, then adding my cream. So as you can see, the milk's come up to the boil. So I'm just going to start by turning my heat right down. I'm going to petrify my eggs a little bit. Now just adding a little bit first and mixing it to make sure the eggs don't cook when you add the rest of the milk. Once you get to all those edges, all the milk in them. Get a nice stir. And then back onto the heat. Now I need to cook this out, stirring occasionally with Maurice, until I get to an 85-degree temperature. So I've got my trusty temperature probium, and I'm going to keep mixing just till I get to 85. It should be quite quick for this small amount of mixture we're making. Get to the edges occasionally. Do it on a very low heat, be patient. So this now starts making it safer for vulnerable groups like pregnant ladies to eat now, because the egg is now being cooked. So when he's 85, that should be okay for ladies to eat it if they're pregnant, avoiding that dreaded salmonella. Make sure I get the base, it doesn't stick there. Once your milk burns, you cannot get rid of that taste at all. So just bear that in mind. So as you can see now, it's starting to thicken up. Let's get my probe in there again. And go up to 85. That's just on 80 degrees, so keep stirring. It'll only take about a minute and that should be there. You can see it's a nice, beautiful, silky consistency now. It's just short of your custard consistency. Check the temperature again. And we're there. So 85. So turn the heat down, totally off. And now I'm going to give it a good mix, make sure it's not sticking. Remember, the base of my pan is still hot, so I need to keep moving that. Now, this is where my guesswork comes in. I'm going to add some raspberry jam, about 2 tablespoons. Don't know if it's going to work or not, but that will bring the temperature down slightly while the jam is busy mixing in them. It's also going to give it a really weird color, I guess. So there we go. There's a few bits of raspberry stuck in there. It doesn't really matter. In the end product, it should be okay. So while that's still mixing, I'm going to add 2/3 of my bag of Milky Bar buttons. The other third I chopped up, and I'm going to use it as bits in the cold product. I'm just going to keep mixing that. This one now needs to cool down till 7 degrees Celsius before I can churn it. Okay, so my custard is now below 7 degrees Celsius. So I'm going to add my cream to it. That's 250 grams. Double cream, of course. So the flavors you got in here, normally I would add white chocolate and raspberry anyway as a rule. It tends to go well, it's a good marriage. But because it's jam, it's a little bit sweeter, so I haven't added glucose syrup, which normally I would. Glucose syrup will make it soft serve. Okay, let's get a nice mix in. That's also going to make sure that if there is any problem with the temperature, that's going to drop it down nicely. Okay, so coming over to my little machine. It comes with a little bowl like this you keep in the freezer. It says minimum 12 hours. That's been there for about 52 or longer. I'm going to add my ice cream mixture. Trying to get it in the hole there. Now you always make slightly less than what the bowl takes because it has to move around. We've got some white chocolate pieces here. I'm going to add my peanut butter as well. And my peanut butter, which I've now, it's frozen solids, and that's kind of what I'm going for, the bit of a cookie effect. So the peanut butter hasn't flavored the ice cream itself, it's just the peanut butter pieces that's going to flavor it. So popping that in there, making sure it's nice and locked in. And that should, technically speaking, take about 45 minutes. Pause. Okay, so that's churning now. Churned ice cream will always taste nicer and creamier because it's got smaller ice crystals that's forming. So we go for now, the machine goes for about 45 minutes. The ice cold bowl is busy freezing the ice cream as it's churning, and that should give a good product. I'll show you at the end. So this is now after about 10 minutes. You can see it's starting to thicken up now as well. So it's starting to look good. I'd say probably another 15-20 minutes and it's going to start looking more like ice cream. So there we go, as you can see, it's getting really thick now, it's getting difficult to turn. You can see why you needed more space in the bowl than the recipe said, or less recipe for the bowl. Now comes a bit of a tricky bit, try to keep it in there. Coming over this way. I don't have an ice cream bowl, I'm just going to use this normal container. Now this will still sit in the freezer a little bit more, but it should be ready by tonight. So probably about a couple of hours and they'll be solid enough to spoon nicely, but let's not waste. Okay. Look at that beautiful consistency. Not the best colour, I guess, but you can see the chunks in there from the peanut butter and the white chocolate. So that's going to be quite special. Now I can tell you this bowl is still very, very cold. I could probably use it to make another batch if I wanted to, but as you can see I've got quite a bit of ice cream here anyway. Perfect amount for that bowl. So there we go. Here's my ice cream. straight for the freezer. I'll pop a ladle in it and I'll be eating it for dessert. So here's the product the day or the morning after. Got my ice cream scoop. It's not boiling water, it's about 3/4 boiling. There you go. If I had put some glucose syrup in there, it would have been a little bit softer. You can obviously leave it out as well, but you can see the bits of your peanut butter in there as well. And that is your ice cream.